Welcome to the Curated Beauty Podcast. Jessica Christie here, a health and beauty enthusiast who became a medical practitioner to be the authority on how to enhance both your outer beauty and inner beauty for the most confident glow. Founding and owning a multi-million-dollar aesthetic medical practice in Michigan, my mission is to bring all the bi-coastal innovations to the fresh coast of Michigan, from which aesthetic treatment gives you the most bang for your buck to how to create systems to be both professionally fulfilled and still have freedom of time and relationships. We will be diving into it all. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to another episode of the Curated Beauty Podcast. I am your host, Jessica Christie, and for those of you who have not tuned in before or maybe don't know my role, I'm just going to remind you, I am the CEO of Beauty Culture Med Spa. I am a physician assistant. I own this practice in Michigan, and we are also building an entire regenerative medicine facet. I haven't even said the name of it yet out loud, but it's called Cultured Wellness, and it will be a completely separate business that we're building. So we've obviously been really busy, and that has taken immense strides in me improving my leadership. And when I mean leadership, I don't want you to tune out and think, oh God, she's talking to all those bosses again. Or managers. I'm not. Every single person within the space of my walls at work are leaders, whether they know it or not, whether they've tapped into it or not yet. It is all about the emotional intelligence in the workplace and what being a good leader entails and what it means. And so I really want to take some space to talk about that today, because I think that elevates our environment, our work environment, and that equals success to our team and all of our organizations. I think that this topic is so near and dear to my heart because I recognized it during a time of change and not necessarily positive change, and realizing that, gosh, I've talked about this in the last podcast, the practitioner, the technician role, because I had this entrepreneurial seizure and wanted to start my own business. And then moving into the whole role of being an entrepreneur, because that was the only way that I could have adequate time to be the leader that I needed to be. So what is the definition of a great leader? Like, when we think about a good leader, what comes to mind? I think that there is so much that goes into being a good leader, and a lot of that obviously comes with experience, because the older that we get, the more we know, the more we've experienced. But leadership is the ability to really inspire and guide others toward a common goal. And it takes setting a very clear vision. It takes communicating effectively. It is making tough decisions despite how it may make others feel in the interim. It is making sure that we're communicating the why amongst change, and then really earning the trust and respect of those that you lead is really important. In order to accomplish that, you really have to be fair and honest and empathetic about how you're making people feel amongst change, and put your team first, which is why I made the decision to really move mostly away from patient care, except for just needing to keep hands on that, to keep that skill, because that's obviously an important part of my job. But ultimately, it's about creating this very positive, productive work environment, because my business should be a vessel for everyone else that works for me to accomplish their own goals. Their goal is not to work for me and retire necessarily with me. They may someday also have an entrepreneurial seizure and want to open their own business, and that's okay. That's celebrated if that's what their path is. If their path is other things and beauty culture allows them the space to continue to be that means to get them to whatever other ends, then great. I celebrate that as well. But I really need to wake up, set the example of a very powerful quote that I kind of want to move into next. And it is a quote that is by Marianne Williamson, which goes like this. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us most. I'm just going to read that one more time. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us most. Gosh, what does that mean? So I got this initially from a TED Talk from Drew Dudley, who was talking about the power of lollipop moments. And I was thinking about how my daughter, she's been talking a lot about her birthday coming up, and she keeps telling me different themes. She's like, I want it to be half unicorn, half fidgets, which I don't even really know what that is. I got to figure it out. And then she'll change the theme the next week. So I'm not putting a lot of effort into it yet, although kids' birthdays nowadays, you got to plan them way ahead of time. But I was thinking, even like amongst our team, we make a big deal about birthdays. We want to celebrate people. But birthdays are a funny time to celebrate people if you think about it, because all they did was be born. It is a great representation of a time to celebrate them. I actually love celebrating birthdays, but literally all they did was be born, which they didn't put a ton of effort into. They were a baby and they haven't died. So that is a celebration. That is definitely a reason to celebrate. But it's funny that we recognize that day, but we don't necessarily take the time to recognize the times where maybe people make us feel seen and heard. So it's with this thought in mind that we explore the fabric of our relationships and how through this whole concept of leadership and an emotional intelligence factor that we can tap into this inner light in this power, not just as bosses or managers. That is not what I'm talking about. Leaders in every sense of the word. You can be a stay-at-home mom and you're a leader. You can be a bus driver and you're a leader. You can be a church group, small group leader, you're a leader. You can be raking the leaves in your yard with your children and you're a leader. Like every sense of the word, you can be a leader, because what is emotional intelligence? I mean, when you really dive into that, you think about what it takes to really have that significance. Emotional intelligence really factors into 4 components, and it's self-awareness. So are you recognizing truly how you're affecting a situation and how your interworkings are having influence? Self-management. So can you stay on task with the goals and priorities that you're able to also set for yourself to get where you want to be? Are you taking ownership of that? Social awareness. Again, what's going on around you? How's everybody else doing? And then relationship management. Are you having those tough conversations? And there is this amygdala hijack, which can happen in difficult situations, because it's easy to be like around positive people and positive influence and those that like seem tapped into their light and that are offering good ideas and seem like they're on the roll. But when that's not the case, our sympathetic nervous system can kind of target things and set off a fight or flight reaction, and we can potentially not want to address some of the hard things that come up. And so one of the other things about being a leader is being open to the act of brutal honesty and taking feedback and clear communication and offering random acts of kindness, even when someone shares hard feedback with you. Like, you got to thank them for that, because how can you move forward and grow if you're not getting feedback? Feedback is totally a gift. Also, being thoughtful. Like, being a thoughtful person goes a really long freaking way. So when we think about the people that seek to understand us and hear us and empathize with our points, and they're curious rather than kind of like being judicial and judgmental, we really are able to give massive space between 2 things. A stimulus, like what just happened. Okay, that maybe made you feel a knee-jerk reaction, this fight or flight amygdala hijack. But are you offering that space? Even if you need to physically ask for a moment, give yourself that space between the stimulus and then the response, because that's on you. And are you wanting to maintain a certain culture? So kind of going back to that quote by Marianne Williamson, okay, so you're saying that it's not our darkness that frightens us, it's our light. We all have so much power in this, but it does take effort and it's an obligation. And once you crack that door and you see that light of who you are and what you can be, it's real hard to shut it, because you know that you showed up and you can't then shut the door. So leaders accept that obligation and they embrace it and they recognize people. So if I were to ask you, like, tell me people in your lives that have made you feel seen and heard and valued, those are leaders. And do you tell those people that they made you feel seen and heard and valued? leadership is not about changing the world and like this untouchable concept that not everyone will experience and like super out of touch. It's about the little tiny moments that are created where you're creating interpersonal connection for the greater common goal. And so we have a lot of team meetings to discuss like upcoming events and products and services and announcements. But one thing that I've really been trying to work for is like getting discussions going on different patient scenarios and like asking people and unmasking issues potentially that are going on where I can offer a solution, because that's what we're all about, is solution based. And again, leadership should be the ability to inspire and guide people towards this common goal, because what you're doing, people are clearly wanting to be a part of, or else they wouldn't hopefully work for you. There's no handcuffs around your office, hopefully. Let's pray for that. So again, I just think that really when we talk about acknowledging the immense power that lies within this capacity to connect, understanding, empathizing, and really thinking about those people that have made you feel seen and heard, can we recognize them? Like recognizing that versus just celebrating people when it's things like their birthday can really be little acts that are rooted in monumental change. Because first of all, you're going to tell that person, I see you back. Thank you for recognizing and making me feel seen and heard. But you're nurturing this work environment and it's very authentic and genuine and symbiotic. And you're telling people, I see that light that you just showed me. And I'm so glad because it shows me who you are. It shows me where you are. And you're encouraging me and setting a good example that I can do the same in a safe place. So how can we recognize people that are making us feel this way? There's really 3 ways that I can think of. So first of all, can you give someone the gift of active listening? This is truly hearing someone. This is shutting off your phone, shutting off your notifications. If I have a meeting with someone, I put my phone on do not disturb. And if I forget and it pings me, like I immediately reach for it and show that person like, I'm so sorry, continue. And I put my phone down. Like there aren't screens in my face when I'm trying to talk to someone. When someone's talking to you in like either a work environment or whatever it may be, maybe a relationship, are you mentally preparing your response so that you can defend yourself? Or are you genuinely absorbing their words? Because remember, feedback is a gift. Recognizing this quality in others and practicing it in yourself can really honestly revolutionize workplace communication, because it's just much more well received from that person that you're listening to them. And they feel like there's something that's actually going to get accomplished rather than just a bitch sesh. Number 2, acknowledgement in meetings. So public acknowledgement is really powerful. Sometimes you got to call people out, but if someone has a really great idea or you notice that maybe one of your team members has been quiet, create a space for their voice. A simple, I loved that you said that, fill in the blank name on your team earlier, or hey, blah, 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 you've been really quiet. Do you have any thoughts on this situation? That can go a long way, because one of my team members one time shared with me, I am that child in my family that waits to be asked. And when you know that about your team member, ask them, because they probably are sitting on some pretty good ideas. And then you're encouraging them to show that light. And number 3, and lastly, is personalized little notes or messages. Create internal systems that can offer a quick way to respond to someone. If a colleague or a team member has made an impact on you, I think it's beautiful to let them know. If you've been thinking about them or you see them show up in some way, a quick message saying, hey, what you said in that meeting really resonated with me. Thank you. That can really mean the world to someone as well. There's so many ways to create rewards, or definitely like little systems internally that can reference like the lollipop moment, where there's that concept where if someone did something, acknowledge them. Like that was the whole concept, that there's a whole bunch of lollipops and give one to someone that has made you feel seen and heard in leadership and an act of kindness. But there's other little things that you can tailor to your practice. Like with so many different ideas. There's like the butterfly award, where it's like a small nonlinear impact of a complex system, or you can say like a healing touch moment reward so that a member that's gone above and beyond, whether it's for a patient or each other and made someone feel seen and valued and heard, like call it out. Ripple recognition where, okay, this one act created a ripple effect. You can just really celebrate your team and really call them out and highlight the ones that are doing really amazing things, because it just encourages everyone else to hopefully raise the bar. So I really am looking at kind of shifting gears towards leadership now, and being a leader, again, like I said, isn't holding a title. It's about inspiring other people and creating this environment. A leader does possess all of these really high qualities. And so just make sure that we're embracing that, make sure that we are realizing every act of understanding, every moment of connection, every gesture of really genuine concern is an act of leadership. And you all have this light within yourselves and this brilliance to create really significant workplaces that really can move the needle on people's lives and help them crush their goals. And that's what life's all about. So cherish it, develop it, and most importantly, share it. Until next time, keep shining your light and leading with love. Congratulations, you have done it. You've reached the end of an episode on the Curated Beauty Podcast and have enriched a part of your self-care by discovering something new. I hope this time together added a little perspective to your day and will ultimately boost your confidence and give you the strength to do all the hard things. As we walk through this journey together, follow our Curated Beauty Podcast. And if this resonated with you, share it with a friend, save the episode, and also follow our social media platforms in the show notes. We love to engage with our listeners on all levels.